But it is, Britta, that imminent king tide threat that we want to begin with this morning. We're watching several beaches along the eastern seaboard from Miami up to Savannah, even into Charleston, South Carolina. This is Isle of Palm, South Carolina, very close to Charleston. The full moon is tonight. It's the harvest moon. It's also the first supermoon out of the entire year, which was a bit surprising to me. In fact, this marks the beginning of a trifecta. October, November, and December's full moon, they'll all be supermoon. It's actually pretty rare to have that. But the supermoon is when the moon appears larger in our sky because it's closer to Earth. But as a result, we got to pay attention to the coastline because as we've known and as we've seen, the southeastern coastline specifically has grown increasingly vulnerable to this king tide. Not to mention, we've got that onshore push, which has seemingly not stopped. We've been watching for, several days, almost more than a week now. As Britta had mentioned, we had 9 homes collapse along the Outer Banks of North Carolina just last week alone. This is Charleston, South Carolina. Pay attention to the gauges, though. We're heading toward low tide now. We will be heading toward high tide tonight. This will really mark the beginning of that king tide cycle lasting through the week. The king tide can happen for several high tide cycles. And because of the supermoon tonight and then the lunar perigee, that's when the moon is closest to Earth, not happening until Wednesday, we'll have to pay attention to it. But we do want to focus in on the vulnerable North Carolina coastline. The concern is that tide that's going to be kicking in. We head out to Fox Weather Correspondent Robert Ray. Robert, I've been watching your live shot. Got to watch those waves coming pretty close.
Yeah. Oh, yes, they are. And I'm bracing myself for it close. But that's what you got to be careful. That's why nobody should be out here even surfing, because that riptide bring you right out. And especially when you're surrounded by all this debris. Non-hazardous wires at this point. Electric is off here, but just slabs of, well, what was once homes and roads as I walk here and the waves come up. And you see these houses behind me, Stephen and everyone watching. I need you to understand something that just blew me away when I arrived here yesterday. About 150 feet past these houses were once beaches, okay? So if you're sitting there watching this and asking, why would anyone build a home here this close? Well, because this was land at one point when they built it, when they built the homes, like anywhere else that's on a coast anywhere around the world. But you have all of this just atmospheric hell out in the Atlantic, and those are the storms that are hundreds of miles away, and the push of water that moves all of this in. And on top of that, you have sea level rise and erosion over the years, and the OBX being a fragile environment as it is, the barrier island, and you have a perfect storm, so to speak. And as I walk literally on what was once roadways, driveways, and people's homes, this is an important place for so many folks, and especially here in North Carolina. Generations of people have raised their families here. Tourists from around America and the world have joined this area. And now we've got, well, a bad scenario this week. We've got king tide, we've got a supermoon, and that could spell more danger. And the thing is about all this, it's great to talk to people that have experienced it on the ground. For the viewers, your name and what you do.
Hi, I'm Goodwin. I'm a documentary photographer, and I work all across North Carolina.
And on top of that, for everyone watching, B was in Hurricane Helene in Asheville, yes, which, as we know on Fox Weather, we've covered it so extensively, and that, in a sense, inspired you to start documenting what's going on here.
Absolutely, yes. So I grew up on the coast of North Carolina, born and raised. Lived all over, settled in Asheville, and thinking it was a climate haven.
Yeah. And
I think that's the message, is this is not a coastal issue. This is a across the state issue. What we're seeing, as Brian mentioned a little bit ago, this is unprecedented. It's accelerating. It's going to continue, and it's coastal, but it also goes all the way up to western North Carolina.
Explain, what that means for folks that don't live here. As we stand here on the battered and shattered coastline, what does that mean? You said earlier it's like a drip.
It's a drip. So in Helene and other major storms, named, unnamed, northeasters, whatever, it's an acute situation. It's several days of massive storm, massive flooding, and then it's years and sometimes decades of recovery. Here, it is a constant drip. These people are seasoned, they're resilient, they are protecting their coastline as best they can. But every day, you see the residents come, and it's a vigil looking at these houses, wondering which one's the next one to fall.
It is quite literally a memorial or a graveyard at this point.
It is, and you see, it's such a it's disconcerting because you see these houses falling, and then one row over, you see homes with bathing suits drying and seashells on the porches, and these are still homes. People say, if I had $1 for every time somebody said, well, this is the price you pay for living on the coast.
Right.
This was not what these people envisioned when they built homes decades ago, and this was 200 yards away from the ocean.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. And I'm going to ask Doug to just take his camera lens and train it out into the ocean and look at the houses that are compromised, either going to have to be taken down or they will collapse. But to, B's point, and what I said earlier, guys, that was beach 150 yards, or 150 feet rather, past these homes when they were constructed. And so you consider that, and yeah, it's like anywhere else on the coast, whether it's Florida or up in the Northeast, that's what people want. But what they don't expect is sea level rise this fast, correct?
Correct.
And these storms that brush by, these hurricanes, and this onward push of hell, really.
It is. It's an ongoing issue. It's accelerating, and the people here are fantastic. They're doing everything they can do. We certainly appreciate you coming and being here on the ground day after day, covering this story, because this is not going away.
No. And from your perspective, covering it, is there a short-term fix, or what do you think the scenario is?
I don't think there is a short-term fix. I see bulldozers and sand and sandbags, and the next day that's gone.
Yeah.
We certainly need more funding. Asheville, the Western North Carolina area, has gotten just a fraction of the money they were promised by FEMA, by federal resources, and even that fraction was only going to be a fraction of what was needed to recover. So I think the answer is money. I think the answer is people being more aware. I think the answer, honestly, is empathy. People in Western North Carolina thought, well, this is unprecedented. They don't know. We're going to help them. Well, here, let's have the same empathy for the people that are here dealing with this day in and day out, this drip of catastrophe.
Appreciate your insight very much. Short-term, long-term solutions need to happen, and perhaps a state of emergency needs to be called, which would, and then enact funds that could come in quickly. Guys, in the meantime, I'll just leave you with this. As you walk over the boulders and what was once roads and the Atlantic Ocean just being pushed in as we await more structures, unfortunately, to fall, and looking and searching for answers. Back to you.
Yeah, that's what we're all looking forward to, answers and perhaps some concrete solutions too. We're going to talk to an expert on this stuff next hour, Robert, out of UNC. So looking forward to that, because North Carolina, as B had mentioned, not exempt from these catastrophes. Appreciate that report from Buxton, North Carolina.